folks, welcome back to the channel, and as promised, we are now going to sit back and evaluate that 6-minute clip on our last ride, to where we had 3 motorcycles and 5 riders down on the pavement, which is never a good thing. So we're going to sit back and we've looked at the footage, discussed it between ourselves. Now we know what caused it, what happened, and how we're going to fix it to where it doesn't happen again. So hey, stay tuned. We're going to start by showing the real speed of what happened, and then take a section of that and go to slow speed and discuss it. Okay, so hang on. Okay folks, at this point right here, all the bikes have either, the 5 bikes in our group, all the bikes have either crashed or have been parked. The 3 bikes that crashed were Nada's bike, Sean's bike, and Daniel's bike. And if you noticed in the video clip, even at full speed, Robert immediately turned to the right and headed up to make sure that Nada and Selma were okay, because he did not see the other 2 guys start to crash, which was a good thing that he did what he did. But if you notice, once he got up there, he let off the gas, grabbed a handful of front brake on it, and immediately started going backwards. Well, he gave it gas, and that straightened it back out and pulled it forward a little bit more, and then he put his right foot on the brake, and his bike was stable. The bike you hear in the background on him is me coming around behind him and over to the right side of him. That seemed like, at the time, that was the closest semi-flat spot that we could park the bikes. Robert then went ahead, backed up, went across the road over to another driveway and parked his bike, and that's where we shut this part of the clip off. Now we're going to go back and start going in slow motion, and I'm going to explain to you what happened on all this part right here. Okay, so hey, let's watch the video. Okay folks, it's at this point right here where things started to go wrong for the group. The distancing that we had kept throughout all of a sudden shrank, and it's easy to see if you look at the Thai rider that was leading us up in the front. The distance between him and Nada all of a sudden increased big time, and what that meant was Nada was slowing down, which Sean now closed the distance, Daniel closed the distance on him, and Robert slowed down. He's not too close, but he closed in a little bit. And then watch the video now and see what happened after that. Okay, folks. Now, you're gonna have to remember this is video time when I slowed the footage down, not real time. Okay, but I'm gonna give you what the times to look at things on the video. At 6:13, Nada's right foot goes down on the ground. Okay, she's still moving, but it's 6:13, her right foot goes down on the ground. At 6:15, Sean's both feet go down and both of Daniel's come off the foot pegs. This is 2 seconds. They're seeing what's happening to her, and they're reacting by taking their feet off the pegs and putting them down. They're planning on stopping on a hill that's this steep. So at 6:20, Nada has flipped over backwards, and luckily both Nada and Selma go off onto the left side of the bike, and the bike flips over on the right side of itself and stops once it hits the pavement, and it's facing downhill. Okay, at 6:22, Sean is starting to go backwards. At 6:22, I mean, this is all happening in a split second. Okay, but I slowed it down enough to be able to see all this. Okay, so Sean is starting to go backwards at 6:22 into where Daniel pulled in behind him. Daniel did not continue straight because they were staggered. When Sean pulled over and started putting his feet down, Daniel saw Nada flipping and immediately pulled to the left as to not be in the way. He doesn't want to run over them, and he doesn't want them to run into him. And the thing is going to the left put him right in the path of Sean coming backwards. So at 6:22, Sean is starting to go backwards into where Daniel had pulled in behind him. Both of them have both feet on the ground, and they're both in first gear. Now, get this, at 6:23, Sean puts on his front brake, and at 6:24, Daniel puts on his front brake, because you can see the tail lights come on, and both their feet are on the ground, so they're not on the foot pegs, and they're not on the brake lever. At 6:25, Sean is going backwards towards Daniel. You can see it just clear as day. At 6:26, Robert has gassed it and going hard to his right to go up to where Nada is to help her. If you watch the clip between 6:26 and 6:27, I'm trying to read what I wrote down here, which I don't write very good when I'm in a hurry. You will notice that Daniel's rear tire starts moving backwards. I mean, you can actually see Daniel's bike start going backwards at that time right there. It is about this time he gets hit by Sean, who's already coming backwards. Both of them go down on the left side of their bikes, with Darwin going over into the irrigation canal and Sean going down into the canal, but at this time he injures his left hand, and the bike teeters on the edge of that canal, but it stops. Daniel was momentarily trapped underneath his bike, and he hurt his left hip and his ankle. Darwin, thankfully, a young kid, strong as all get out, didn't hurt at all. You know, so I was impressed that he came out of it pretty good. At 6:25, Robert tries to stop by not his bike, and the grade is too steep, and his bike starts going backwards. Okay. Now this is what happened to Daniel and Sean both. The bike started going backwards. The front brake is not going to hold on those steep inclines like that. However, Robert hits the throttle and the bike straightens back out. At 6:49, he has controlled the bike and heads back up the hill again. At 7:01, he stops his bike this time, is with the rear brake that he stops it with. Okay, 7:10, he slowly lets the bike back down the hill until 7:14, at which time he lets me pass behind him and to the right of him. At 8:45, he starts moving across the street to park his bike. This is mosquito just ate the shit out of me. This is the timeline by slowing the film down, slowing the footage down, that actually only took 10 seconds, and you're going to see 2 minutes worth of it, I think. But what we found out to be the problem on this, and this is gonna be at the end of this footage on there, but anyhow, what we found out to be the problem on what caused all this is Nada's bike and Sean's bike have a big box on the back of their bike. They also have a pad on the back on their rack for a passenger. So they have foot pegs and a passenger pad, and then back behind that there's not enough room to mount those boxes, so they put on an extension rack, and that's what they mounted these boxes to. And the boxes are not light. You'll see a little bit here at the end of the clip where Darwin is carrying one of the boxes, and I mean, the kid is strong. He's really strong, and he's showing the muscles by carrying this box. So you're going to know that these boxes were not light. But the bad thing is they stuck out. The entire box stuck out past the rear axle. So that's just like a teeter-totter. When the fat kid gets on one end of it and the skinny kid's on the other end of it, the fat kid's going down and the skinny kid's going up. It's always been that way. And what we found is these boxes stuck out there so far past the rear axle, they were messing with the stability of the bikes. Sean can attest now. He's taken that stuff off of his bike and it handles so much better. So it's not wobbling back and forth. It's not being light on the front end. And what it caused was when she went to downshift, as little power as that engine has got, and with that steep of a grade that it was on, it was enough to, with the weight on the back of the bike, it was enough to lift the front end up, and with her on the gas, it just went right on over backwards, and that caused the entire deal to go bad. So I can tell you right now, all you guys, no matter where you're at, if you've got an extended rack on the back of your Honda CT, take it off, okay? Somebody's going to get killed by one of these things stuck back there with so much weight on it that they can't control the bike, and that's exactly what happened here. Was neither one of them could control the bikes when they got to any kind of a grade. And not only me, but two of the other guys that were jockeying the bikes back and forth to get them all the way up to the top of the mountain were sitting back there talking about how unstable the front end was on these bikes. And we weren't going up real steep stuff at that time either. So that's the video, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to do a video also on training how to stop on a steep incline, because it happens a lot here in Thailand, where people get on these steep inclines and they don't know that when they're on a steep incline like this, the back brake is the brake that's loaded. When you're going down a hill, the front brake is the one that's loaded, and those are the ones that are going to do the stopping for you. So if you put your feet on the ground, you cannot be stopping the rear brake, which means you're going to slide, and it's not a good feeling when it happens. So hey, we'll talk to y'all later.